What if I told you the stuff you've been holding on to might be costing you more than it's worth? Not just to your family, but to your happiness too. I get it. You've spent a lifetime accumulating things. It's sentimental, maybe even feels a bit overwhelming. But here's the hard truth. Your loved ones don't want your stuff, and hanging on to it could be doing more harm than good. Today, I'm sharing my journey from too much to just enough and how letting go has opened up space for something far more meaningful. And if you stick with me, I'll give you a simple strategy to start decluttering today without stress or second guessing. This is personal and it might hit close to home for you too. It's not just about clearing clutter. It's about breaking free from the memories, the guilt, and the what ifs tied to the things that we don't need, don't use, and maybe don't even like. Let's dive in. My wake up call started 12 years ago when I left Alaska. That was my first serious attempt at decluttering. Moving is expensive, and moving out of Alaska is even more expensive. So I had to make hard decisions about what to keep and what to leave behind. Beyond the must-have essentials for day-to-day living, I managed to whittle down my memorabilia into just 2 boxes. One filled with family Christmas ornaments and the other with memories from my son's childhood. And here's the kicker. Those boxes haven't been opened since. I still have them, and they remind me of how little we actually need to hold on to in our daily lives. Plus, I have an ultimate purpose for them that I'll share at the end. Anyway, this is when I began embracing essentialism, not minimalism. I'm not living with the bare minimum, but I've let go of things that no longer serve me. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine your kids or grandkids standing in your house years from now, surrounded by boxes of knick-knacks, old papers, and furniture they don't have room for. They love you, of course, but do they really want your china set or that treadmill you haven't touched in a decade? Probably not. And yet, this is what so many families face, sorting through years and years of belongings at one of the most difficult times of their lives, unsure of what to keep, what to toss, and how to move forward. I've been there, and let me tell you, it's emotionally exhausting. Every item feels like a choice between keeping a memory alive or letting it fade away. But here's the thing, your memories don't live in that old recliner or those vacation tchotchkes from the 80s. They live in your heart, your stories, and the moments you share with your family. Now I get it, letting go is hard. You've attached meaning or maybe even monetary value to these things. You might be thinking, well, what if my kids want this someday? Or this has to be worth something. Here's the reality. Most of what we think is valuable isn't. That antique vase, your kids see it as one more thing to dust. The collection of figurines you've cherished, they're likely headed to a donation box. This is why it's so important to start now, while you're still here to make the decisions yourself. My friend learned this the hard way. She decided to downsize into a 1-bedroom home, a fresh start, less financial stress, more freedom, right? But she couldn't part with her memorabilia. She brought it all, floor to ceiling, into that small space. It felt suffocating just to visit. And because it was so packed, she couldn't keep it clean. The dust and clutter aggravated her asthma, turning what should have been her sanctuary into a source of stress. I don't want that for you. Simplifying your space can be liberating, but only if you let go of the weight that you've been carrying, both physically and emotionally. When I started to seriously declutter, I began small, my kitchen. I got rid of utensils I hadn't touched in years and those single-purpose gadgets that seemed clever at the time but never got used. I even rearranged my cabinets and found that I had empty shelves. That was my first glimpse of how freeing this process could be. Then I moved on to my bedroom. I had a closet full of clothes I didn't wear. Here's another confession. I had so many shoes, most of them heels that I hadn't worn in years. Heels haven't been my go-to in a long time. So I kept a couple of the more comfortable pairs that I love and let the rest go. Now my closet holds everything I own, and I still have space left over. Decluttering isn't just about getting rid of things. It's about creating a space that works for you. For me, that meant replacing meaningless trinkets with family photos and items that made me smile when I glanced at them. It also meant letting go of furniture I no longer needed, liked, or wasn't worth repairing. This process doesn't just lighten your home, it lightens your emotional load. It's amazing how freeing it is to walk into a room that feels open and functional rather than crowded and chaotic. Letting go doesn't always mean throwing things away either. But let's not wait for someone else to deal with your stuff after you're gone. Start giving things away now. It feels so rewarding to find new homes for your goodies. There's something truly special about seeing the joy on someone's face when you gift them something meaningful. Imagine handing your granddaughter that bracelet that she's always admired, or giving your neighbor the tool that they've been searching for but couldn't quite afford. You're creating memories and sharing love in the present, not just leaving it behind for the future. And if you're not in the gifting mood, why not turn some of those things into extra cash? That vintage dishware, the treadmill, or the collection of holiday decor you no longer put up, they could all go to someone who will actually use them. You can sell items online, have a yard sale, or take things to a consignment shop. It's a great way to turn unused items into a little extra cash. Think of it as trading clutter for financial freedom. Now let's address the biggest roadblock, the someday trap. It's the hardest mindset to overcome, isn't it? We hold on to things because we might need them. Here's a tip that worked wonders for me. If you haven't used it in over a year, it's safe to let it go. Trust me, you won't miss it as much as you think. And if you think about it, how many of those just-in-case items have you actually ever needed? Those 2 boxes of ornaments and childhood memories I mentioned, I haven't touched them in over a decade. But I keep them because they hold sentimental value for my son. And the difference is they're not cluttering my living space, and I'm not paying storage fees to keep them. And when my son gets married and starts a family of his own, those boxes are going directly to his house. And it's okay to keep a few meaningful things, certainly, but be honest with yourself about what you're holding on to and why. I think the key here is that this isn't just about physical space. It's about creating emotional space too. A decluttered home feels lighter, easier to clean, and simply more peaceful. You'll breathe easier, literally and figuratively, when you're not overwhelmed by the weight of your belongings. And if you're planning to downsize anyway, this is your chance to make that transition so much easier. Here's the strategy I promised. Declutter with intent. Don't think of it as losing things. Think of it as gaining space, clarity, and freedom. When you take this step, you're not just clearing out your home. You're making room for the life that you want to live. Here's my challenge for you. Pick a starting point. Maybe it's a drawer, a closet, or even just a single box. Ask yourself, does this item bring me joy? Does it serve a purpose in my life today? And if the answer is no, it's time to let it go. Whether that's through gifting, selling, or donating. When you take this step, you're not just clearing out your home. You're creating a legacy of love, not clutter. You're giving your family the gift of freedom from tough decisions and emotional overwhelm at a time when they need it the most. And most importantly, you're giving yourself the space to focus on what really matters, the life you want to live and the people you want to spend it with. So what are you holding on to that's holding you back? Let me know in the comments. It's time to let go and make room for something better. Your future self and your loved ones will thank you. Until next time.